Some women are famous, some are not. But it is a fact that over the last half-century, the work of millions of women has altered virtually every aspect of American culture. PBS celebrates the work of these women this month in a documentary called Makers, Women Who Make America. Coming up next on Another View, we look at 4 Hampton Roads makers, women who have excelled in media, entrepreneurship, academia, and finance. We'll hear their stories of trials and triumph and find out about the driving force behind their desire to make a difference. A conversation with 4 Hampton Roads makers right after this news from NPR.
Discussing the issues and celebrating the successes of the African American community. This is Another View.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. Welcome to Another View. Before we get started on our discussion today about Hampton Roads makers, I want to let you know about something very special coming up on Another View on March 1st. That's 2 Fridays from now. We are partnering with Colonial Williamsburg for a program called American Ideas, Steadfast Spirits, which examines how the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution affect African American women through Revolution, Reconstruction, and the Civil Rights era. Now, what makes this program so special is that I will be actually in Colonial Williamsburg doing a webcast, and we will simulcast on Another View. So our listening audience, you'll be able to hear the show, or you can go to their website, history.org/connect, and you'll be able to watch the webcast. And if you can't do that, you'll be able to listen on the radio, and you'll still be able to call in with your questions. So we're very, very excited about this opportunity. That's on March the 1st, American Ideas, Steadfast Spirits, and I think you'll find the conversation really, really enlightening. So, Makers, Women Who Make America. It's an unprecedented digital video and broadcast initiative of PBS and AOL. On Tuesday, February 26th at 8, WHRV-TV will air the documentary Makers, the story of how women have helped shape America over the past 50 years. So today on Another View, we decided to talk with some Hampton Roads makers, women who have made a significant difference in the Hampton Roads community. From the world of media, please welcome Barbara Ciara, managing editor and television news anchor with News Channel 3, WTKR.
Good afternoon, Barbara.
Good to see you. Entrepreneurship, Ms. Delceno Miles, president and CEO of the Miles Agency, a niche public relations firm in Virginia Beach.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Delceno. How you doing?
I'm well.
Good. From academia, Dr. Cassandra Newby-Alexander, author and history professor at Norfolk State University. Dr. Newby-Alexander.
Hello, Barbara. How are you?
Good to have you back.
Thank you.
And from the world of finance, Yvonne Allmond, Senior Vice President of Private Banking with Town Bank here in Norfolk. Hi, Yvonne. How are you?
Hello, Barbara. I'm fine.
I'm so happy to have all of you all here with me today. But before we get into our discussion, let's listen to a clip from the Makers documentary.
There are women who fight for something bigger than themselves.
I don't hesitate to give them a shot between the eyes when it's deserved.
Who have changed the world as we know it.
Never, ever occurred to me that I could be Secretary of State.
And the time has come for their stories to be told.
Suddenly I realized if I don't finish this race, then everybody's going to believe women can't do it. I've got to finish this race.
They are undeniably courageous.
Many people call me fearless, and I'm always a little bit embarrassed because nobody's really fearless. It's about how you manage fear.
We thought these injustices are so great, surely if we just explain them to people, they will want to fix them.
They make us laugh.
I didn't know there was a women's movement going on. I didn't know there were gay people. I was sheltered. I'm not kidding.
They dare to be different.
I actually had a Russian general say to me once, "What's a nice girl like you doing, interested in these military affairs?"
They have the power to inspire us to be.
I want to tell any young girl out there who's a geek in high school, I was a really serious geek in high school. It works out.
You can't sit around waiting for somebody else to say who you are. You need to write it and paint it and do it.
They are the women who make America. Makers is a landmark digital and broadcast video initiative from AOL and PBS, featuring women whose pioneering contributions continue to shape the world in which we live. From the high profile to the everyday groundbreakers, they're all here. Join the conversation. Share your favorites. Inspire and be inspired.
So that's what Makers, Women Who Have Made America, is all about. Women who make America. So, Barbara, what was the thing that inspired you to become such a pioneer in broadcasting?
I never knew that I would be a pioneer in broadcasting. As you know, Barbara, when I first started out, I thought that I wanted to be a newspaper reporter. And that all came back to one moment in the 8th grade when someone told me no. And that was, and I guess I'm dating myself with the ladies, but at that point, girls in my Pittsburgh middle school were not allowed to wear pants unless it was a snow day. Mm-hmm. And so I had a little protest. The school newspaper wouldn't cover it. I went in with my outrage, and she said, if you're so smart, work on the paper. And I did, and it caught fire with me, and the written word was this powerful thing then that kind of drove me to eventually become a broadcast journalist.
So, Cassandra, was there a moment in your childhood, something that made you say, you know what, I'm going to be somebody, I'm going to make a big difference career-wise?
You know, I don't know that it was ever a specific moment for me. I was raised by two very strong parents who encouraged us. I had grandparents who told me a lot about their family history and the things that really mattered to them. And so I guess I grew up feeling very passionate about who I was and making a difference in my life. I felt that I had a mission in life, always, from as far back as I can remember. I remember even as a 3-year-old listening to adults talking to me like I was a little child and being annoyed that they were talking to me as if I was a little child. Of course, I was a little child, but I suppose I always sought out finding out more about who I was. And that made me then find out more about who other people were. And that's what I would say really is the essence of academe, that you're always asking why. In fact, I tease my students in saying that my first word was probably not mommy, but why?
Delceno, when you were growing up, did you think, I have to own my own? I'm not working for somebody else?
Actually, yeah.
Really?
Probably my earliest memories, probably kindergarten. I never saw barriers. And I was, as one of in the promo, I was a bit sheltered too about the racism, because growing up in the 60s in the South, back then we were Negro, so as a Negro child, but I never saw barriers. I always saw that I want to do that and just do it. And got teased for that from my black neighbors, the kids. You know, the so-called acting white stuff. I was many times growing up, I was the only black on a sports team or in student government. I just did it because I was passionate about it. I liked it, and I could. And so I have that attitude now. I don't see something that says, well, I can't do that because no one else has done it before. If anything, that challenges me to do that.
To say that you want to move, go ahead and try it. Since no one
why
else
not
has done
try it? It's not a black thing. It's not a girl thing. It's an opportunity to do something different. And so I just never had that attitude that I couldn't do something because it's never been done or someone teased me. And so some of those same folks now, like, I grew up with you. Yes, you did.
Look at me now.
Yeah,
look at me now. Exactly.
But it's just interesting how life turns out.
Yvonne, when you were a little girl, women didn't deal with money and they didn't take care of big finance. So where did that come from?
I grew up in a military family, and back then, before direct deposit, if my father was away, the family had to kind of wait for him to send money. So I would watch my mother scrape together, for us to have some of the necessities. It always really bothered him, but once direct deposit started, I was always an avid reader too. Mm-hmm. So I would read and read and read, and then I would make suggestions to her, and she said, you think you know everything. So that never stopped. But that never stopped me either, just like Delceno. I would go out there, see what somebody was doing, because we moved around, so I saw a lot of different people doing things, but I didn't see anybody like me doing those things. But that just didn't stop me. I plowed ahead anyway, and I always thought that I could do everything.
Mm-hmm. Let me not make an assumption here with the with our listening audience. So I'm going to ask each of you to do a 30-second elevator speech about your career. Can you kind of think very, very quickly about what it is that you do? Because I don't want to make the assumption, because I know you all, and I know that lots of people do know you, that everyone knows you. So Delceno, why don't we start with you?
I'm president and CEO of the Miles Agency. We're a marketing and PR firm based in Virginia Beach, but we have clients throughout the Commonwealth. And I'm very active in community activities, but I'm a beach girl through and through.
Okay. Cassandra?
I'm a professor of history at Norfolk State University, and I'm also the director of our center, our Diaspora Center, the Joseph Jenkins Roberts Center for African Diaspora Studies. And as a faculty member, I teach classes. Most of them are upper-level classes, and my specialty is African American history with an emphasis on local history. But as a historian, I research and I publish on a variety of topics, and I serve as a consultant on a whole host of different initiatives. I serve on boards, and I even work as a consultant on the Historical Commission for the Virginia Supreme Court. So I interview former justices and judges throughout the state.
Wow. Yvonne?
I am a senior vice president at Town Bank. I serve on about 8 boards. I'm still doing some firsts. I'm the commissioner of the board of, the president of the board of commissioners for the Virginia Housing Development Authority. I have been in banking my entire career. I started off with the regulators at the FDIC, and, being the first, always the first, never stop. But I saw then how having access to capital, or the information on how to get access to capital, really doesn't spread throughout the communities. I mean, and there is so much that our communities really don't know. Mm-hmm. And having been on the inside, I always take that information out. I mean, I'm very, very free with information that I have learned over the years in banking. Our communities really have no idea what goes on and how to get access to capital. Mm-hmm. But I talk to churches, I talk to community groups. Even though I'm a private banker now, I'm more like in an advisory basis, I still go out because, my roots were in the small businesses and where you need to get money to get yourself started, and how you have to work for it, because nothing's going to be given to you.
Okay. And Barbara?
I've been in this market as a broadcast journalist for over 30 years. I'm one of the immediate past presidents of the National Association of Black Journalists, one of the largest journalism organizations of color in the world. I serve on numerous nonprofits, volunteer just like so many of you do. And I think the one thing in broadcast journalism that I share with all of my colleagues is one of the reasons why many of us early on got into the business was to give a voice to the voiceless. We would see that our stories were not being told, and we could actually go in and shine a light on a problem and solve it, or get other people to solve it after seeing that it was going on. I just think there's a power in not only the written word, but the broadcast word, and I'm just so passionate about what it is that we can do to make change.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call. Give us a call. Are you a Hampton Roads maker? It doesn't mean that you have to be famous. It means that you are passionate about your community and that you are involved. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Now, without giving away ages, but all of us lived in the 70s. I'll just say where there was a period of the women's rights movement that was going on at the same time that the civil rights movement was going on, and I'm curious as to whether in your experiences was racism or the fact that you were African American a barrier, or was being a woman a barrier, or was it both?
I have to say that my first experience in getting into the business of broadcast journalism, one of the first things a gentleman told me who was my colleague is that news coming from a woman's mouth sounds like gossip. And basically told me women had no business being in news. My experience in Arizona was female discrimination. It was all about gender. And so I was surprised because I expected in a state where it was 2% African American that the pushback I would get would be because of my color. But it was all about gender, at least the first 8 years of my career.
Wow. Who else?
For me,
Cassandra?
it was for a long time. It was about race because I was attending universities that were majority institutions, and so often I was the first or one of the only African Americans there. But when I got into the classroom, it was often about gender with some race involved, and
so you would get pushback from students?
Oh, absolutely. When I first started teaching, I think I was about 27, 28 years old, and I had students who thought I was their age. And they were accustomed to just running over women. And I had to really establish a tough veneer. And
so you had to become the mean lady.
Absolutely. and that reputation sticks far and wide. They are afraid of me. I have students who said, "Yeah, I heard I'm not supposed to take your class. You are hard." And I said, "You know what? You're right. I am. Because I believe that in order for you to succeed, you have to not only understand how to discipline yourself, but you have to buck up and get the work done and do a good job. And I'm here to help you, but I am not here to do your work for you."
Early on, mine was race, but as I got into the working environment, it was definitely being a female. And I remember way back when you're in your 20s, male and female colleagues, they would pay the male more. And now that, we're middle-aged, you can see how that has affected us. I mean, I'm working for my own retirement. If you're married, maybe you have some other benefits, but a lot of us are single, and we are going to be 100% our own support. But early on, not having the salary that I probably should have had, like my male colleagues, is actually having an effect now.
Because you can never catch up, or it becomes more difficult to catch up as you're going on.
I'm still experiencing that. I'm still there's still a great disparity in the academic world between females and males, and what they do is you see then females in top positions, but they don't correct the problem that exists throughout. And so I'm still perhaps one of the lowest paid full professors in our area, in our region, because of that issue.
Delceno.
Mine's a little different. In the business world, it's still male dominated. So when I first started my business, I had a male partner. And so I would send him out where they'd get their backs up about doing business with a woman. So we'd still get the business. So that's one side of it. The other side.
How before you go into the other side, how did you recounsel that in your own mind? I mean, it had to make you angry.
Angry, but grateful that the check cleared. So
I hear you.
It's a business decision.
That's right.
Business.
It's business.
I don't take it personally. So I was a big girl. I could handle that. But we still got the business. The other side is I had more prejudice about my color from my color. So,
in terms of people of color not wanting to hire you, is that what you mean?
That, or they wanted the hookup. So they wanted, the family rate free. But they wouldn't have that same expectation from my white counterparts. So I had it on the other end where we had prospective black customers or clients who looked at me differently because I was black. And so so there was more to prove. And so I've since gotten out of that where now, when you write the checks and you sponsor stuff like that, you don't get it as much. But there's that expectation, too, that because you're in business, you must support. So that's a whole nother dynamic. So I've gotten it both ends. The gender side comes from the business world, and that has made me tougher in a sense. Not the mean one, but the tough one, where, you sit at the table, you negotiate the expectation definition is, this is what I'm worth, this is what you'll pay me, or hire someone else. I am not shy about walking away from a deal.
Go ahead, Cassandra.
I was going to say, it's interesting to me because when a woman is tough and no nonsense, she's categorized as mean and nasty.
Or the B word.
Yes. But or if she's assertive, she's pushy. But when a man is assertive, he's showing initiative. When a man is strong and immovable, he's showing that he's a real man.
Resolute.
Yes. And so, it's troubling to me that our society hasn't moved beyond that point. And so I just have decided, fine, if that's what you want to call me, that's fine. And I'm going to let you know I'm a feminist. But let me explain what a feminist is, because the denigrating words and characterizations of feminism is not what it is. And so I'm going to let you know exactly what the definition is. And what you do with that is on you. But understand that people use these words to constrain, to place people in a box, and to make them cooperate with the status quo.
So give us the definition of feminism.
Feminism is the acknowledgement of the true personhood of a woman. And it's not defined by what roles you are supposed to assume in society. It is defined by the individual. And that's a very scary thing for people.
And a scary thing for women. I mean,
Yes.
I remember coming up into my own craft in the 70s, and the expectation was at that point is that you would devote, if you're female and you're going into this male-dominated world, you would devote every second of your time to your career. There was no opportunity to have a well-rounded life. If you had an issue with children or family, you were then looked at as a liability.
Exactly. See, I told you couldn't handle this because you have to go home to take care of your child. Most of you were firsts or onlys in many situations as your careers rose. Were you ever told, as I have been told in the past, well, you're not like those other black people?
Absolutely.
Lord have mercy.
Absolutely.
And would you just talk a little bit, because I think people sometimes when they would say that, they meant it as complimentary, but it's not. Yvonne?
In banking, of course, which is the last bastion of conservatism, I was at another institution one day, and one of the young ladies said, "You should try to come into to this area." She said, "Because you're not angry, if you know what I mean." And
oh my,
wow!
And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll look into that." And I was talking to my girlfriends, and they said, "They don't know what you because it, not angry, whatever that means." But she seemed to have a definition for it. But we are our people, and we are no different from our people. The people that you see coming into to the bank or wherever on Friday to rush in there to cash their check, we are those people.
Just shows you how stereotypes reign.
Well,
absolutely.
They need to know, whoever they are, black or white or other, we're just as different as they are. We're just as diverse as they are. We don't all rap. We don't all dance. We don't all watch basketball and those kinds of things. We're single. We're married. We're divorced. We cry. We hurt just like anybody else. When you cut us, we bleed red just like everybody else. But the stereotypes, what I call lazy thinking, they lump us all together. I get it by being a Republican. I get it. So it's like, you're not a real black person. But I'm an independent thinker. Doesn't mean I vote for every Republican that's on the ballot. So, but my point is that I get folks who judge me based on how I talk. I don't split verbs unless I'm with family. You did that series on code switching.
Yes.
Code switching. So I'm by code.
Yes.
So, and it's funny. We all play those roles. I think
say we all at this table
we have the mask
You
that we have to wear.
Both sides of the fence.
That's right. You wear the mask in the boardroom, and you take the mask off or put on a different mask when you're at the family picnic.
Exactly.
With Pookie in there.
Exactly.
I'm Ray Ray.
More real.
Everybody's got a Pookie.
Everybody's got a Pookie.
Unless
Cassandra.
you have a mother who's a teacher.
She got a
There
Pookie
is
too.
no difference.
Mama got Pookie.
Oh, God. If you're just joining us, we're talking about Hampton Roads makers, women who've made a significant difference in the Hampton Roads community. My guests are television news anchor Barbara Ciara, business owner Delceno Miles, history professor Dr. Cassandra Newby-Alexander, and financial expert Yvonne Allmond. Give us a call, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 if you'd like to join the conversation. If you'd like to ask these women about what was the driving force behind their ability to make a difference, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Barbara, do you face any kinds of hurdles today?
Well, I think there are personal hurdles now. I'm in an environment right now where, I can elect to grow. This is a very unique time in my life to have a support system, business-wise, that allows me to just select what my next challenge is going to be. I never dreamed I would be in that position, so I feel very grateful and blessed to be there. But I think that from the exterior, some of the things that were raised earlier are perceptions on the outside, much like, what Delceno said that she had to face on the outside, or what you brought up in terms of people saying, you're not like the others. I do spend a lot of time trying to tell people that just because you see me on TV doesn't mean that my road or journey is no different than the person I pass every day in the coffee shop. Mm-hmm. And I feel that there are still people out there who want to elevate some of us who have so-called made it into an area that excludes us from the rest of the black populace. And I really resent that because that's where I came from. Many of the people that they, show disdain for that was me, 40 years ago. So I just would like to dispel the myths that people seem to put out there.
Okay. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Sandra joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Sandra. You're on the air.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. Go ahead.
I just wanted to call because of the topic you were just discussing, stereotyping women in the workplace.
Uh-huh.
And I was on a job last week. I am an actor here in the local community. Mm-hmm. And it was a job that I was cut out for as far as my talents and my experience. But I was denied the job just because of my looks. Because of your looks? Yes, I was described as Barbie and therefore deemed not appropriate for the job.
Did that have to do with the role, or do you think that was an overall perception?
It was an overall perception.
So how did you...
Well, until just now, when you guys were talking about it, I really hadn't digested it. But as you were talking about how unfairly you were treated in the past because of the way you look, it dawned on me that that is exactly what happened to me. Because of the way I was born, with the looks I have, I was denied an opportunity.
Wow. Okay. Yvonne, you want to respond?
Well, she probably is getting an eye-opener, and she will get more eye-openers. We see that with some of the young women who come into the office. Some of them look very young, and they still wear their hair very collegiate, and they dress very collegiate, and just even cutting their hair a little bit or having a more serious hairstyle, you don't have to look old, but you can look very stylish and very professional, and then you're looked at a little bit differently because some of them come in and they don't quite have the wardrobe. I remember starting off, I did not have the wardrobe. But you can go actually to Target and get a very nice suit or something, but you've got to look the part and not look collegiate, and they do start to look at you a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. Women, we do have to carry, that is another part of our persona layer that we have to deal with in terms of being how we're perceived when we walk in the room, Cassandra, in terms of look.
Well, I think that perhaps women are harder on other women.
Oh, gosh.
In terms of how a woman looks. And I mean, you do have a Mr. America contest, but it's not broadcast anywhere. There's the singular focus on women and how they look. And so if a woman does not look a certain way, then she's not considered serious. If she's not pretty enough, then she's not seen as desirable. If she's not, so there's a whole litany of things. And acting, I think, is perhaps one of the most challenging realms for any person to go into, because there's constant rejection that's there, because people look for archetypes for whatever they're trying to project. And so you're going to constantly get these rejections, and people are going to pounce on every little part of your anatomy. And I and I really feel sorry for a lot of people who do go into acting, because it really does pose challenges to your ego.
Barbara, you face that also being on air in television. Maybe not to the extent of actors, but do you think that has changed over the years?
Barbara, you know well. You were a news director in this business. You have gone up the food chain in many different markets. And absolutely, it's true. Particularly when you talk about feedback from the community and the majority of that coming from females. It's always surprising to me to receive a phone call or an email from a woman and have her say, "Oh, I think you're too fat to be on the air," or "I really don't like your hair," or, "I'm not sure that dress was for you." Are you going to pay for my wardrobe? Are you going to take care of my next salon visit? And really, that personal trainer I wanted to get, you'll be writing the check to him. The thing is that I've gotten really snarky now about these kinds of things, these uninvited, intrusive remarks into my life. I say, you don't know me. You don't know anything about me. You don't know anything except what you see. And what you should be seeing is what I would hope is a credible broadcast journalist who is delivering the news to you, and anything else should be off the table, but that's not the real world.
Delceno, we have a question from our Facebook fan. Wants to know if stating the current atmosphere within the Republican Party, if you find yourself being pushed to the forefront.
To the forefront? No. They're still trying to figure out how to keep me in the party. I think the message and the appeal to the non-traditional Republican has not been crystallized. I think they're still trying to figure out what's important to us, even though, again, like I said before, we have families and same issues. We want our kids educated. We want to be in nice neighborhoods and all of that. But they haven't figured that out yet. And that's the frustration on my part. And there are some things that are still core to who I am, and it has nothing to do with partisanship. Certainly, I don't want to pay more taxes than I have to, but I believe in supporting those who need the help, provided they're not gaming the system. And I believe in making sure that our kids are safe and have every opportunity to make it in this country. I see too many folks come over here where English is their second language. They make it, they start their businesses, and our kids are still not quite there yet, still struggling there. And it's sad what happened in Connecticut, but our kids are getting killed every day. And there hasn't been the vice president chairing a committee to figure out what to do. And I don't say that as a racist. I say that as someone who cares about all children. So we should care about all children. It shouldn't have to take the massacre of kids that are wealthy. Or in a wealthy area. So all of these issues, whether it's gun control, wherever you stand on the issue, we should ultimately care about the person, regardless. This is a country of immigrants, so how dare we? I suppose, be angry or upset about folks who try to come in this country as immigrants. And granted, our folk didn't have a whole lot of choices. We were on that same cruise ship that the folks in Alabama were on. It was miserable. It was a miserable cruise.
Yes, it was.
We didn't get a refund. So let me stop.
That's good.
But going back to women judging women, you remember the fiasco, all of the nasty comments with our girl Gabby Douglas about the hair. Yes. This young woman's making history. She's beating the greatest of the greatest in competition in the world. She beat Russians. I was so proud. She was standing at the top at the gold pedestal between two Russians that she beat. And we're talking about her hair. This girl is healthy, she's fit, and you got probably some folks that are taking their insulin and writing nasty notes at the same time. It's ridiculous. And I just think, and the young lady that called in from Chesapeake, don't give up. That's just one person's opinion. Mm-hmm. And being in a creative environment, become that character. I read the bios of some of the greatest actors, and they say that parts were written for white people, but they won they won those parts because they know how to go in and become that character. Mm-hmm. And so I know I'm kind of getting off on that, but I just get agitated when we judge each other so harshly and we forget where we come from. Yeah. That none of us perhaps were born. Donald Trump ain't our daddy. And those who had daddies. Mm-hmm. I didn't grow up with my father. Mm-hmm. So I had to compensate for that. I just fortunately had a great grandfather. So I just think we should not judge folks so harshly until we know what their journey has been like. And if anything, offer to help.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Alan joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Alan. You're on the air.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. Wanted to respond to what Barbara Ciara said several minutes ago. Sometimes people have a hard time when one of their friends or someone like them makes it because it upsets their world. You know, if they can do it, why didn't I do it? It's much safer to put that person into a different set or a different place because then they don't have to change. I'm really glad someone brought up Gabby at the Olympics because that was tragic. Because you're right, she was making history, and the most popular Twitter comment was about her hair. Anyway, that was just it. I'm glad you're having this conversation.
Thank you, Alan, for the call. We appreciate that. So he's saying that some people, Barbara, feel because you've made it that they're jealous. I mean, it really comes down to jealousy in terms of the snarky comments. That
Forgive me, should I say haters?
Haters.
Yeah.
Well, Cynthia joins us from Portsmouth. Hi, Cynthia. You're on the air.
Yes, I have a comment to make. I have listened to your program, and I don't know if it was last week or the week before about the poor children in Connecticut, and if they would have been black children, things would have been different. I do think that is a racist comment. Children are children. If they were black kids, everyone would feel the same way. It was a horrible situation.
Cynthia, excuse me for interrupting you, but let me correct what was said. That no one said that nothing would have been done. What we said was that there have been black children who have been killed for many years over and over again, and it wasn't until there was a massacre that happened in Connecticut that something was actually being done about it. So we weren't saying that nothing would have been done. That wasn't the comment.
But I mean, it keeps on bringing up, and it's horrible whether they were Chinese children or children or children are blessed.
And each of our guests have said that. So we appreciate your call. Thank you. So go ahead,
Yeah,
Cassandra.
I'd like to follow up on that. You know, there have been a lot of statistics done to show news coverage and the way in which the news has, not only historically, but in the last 10 years, how they cover news stories. And there have been studies done to show how when there are black victims, and especially children, missing children or whatever, that typically you don't get as much information or coverage or any coverage for a child who is non-white versus a child who's white, and especially a child who's white who fits into this kind of imagery of the blonde-haired, blue-eyed child. And so there have been a lot of studies done. To point that out is not racist, but what it does is it touches on a nerve in our American society that says we're not yet ready to acknowledge how that we still, as a society, view people differently, that we still give, at least whether it's conscious or not, a certain degree of of more attention to some groups as opposed to others. And so that issue is still there. I'm so glad that President Obama mentioned how there are still so many children every day being killed through gunfire, whether they are bystanders, whether they're victims of drive-bys, whether they're in the wrong place at the wrong time, or whether they're just in a bad environment. And there's no assistance in helping them to get out of that bad environment, and they become victims as a result.
One of the things that all of you all are involved in also is community work. You serve on boards, you do community activities. Why is that important to you, Yvonne?
It's important because I feel that I have been very fortunate and very blessed to have had the insider information, and so to speak, and access to information that people in our community never would have access to. And I feel an obligation to give that information, give that back to the community. And that's why I'm always, 7 days a week I'm doing something. And, I'll even come to your church on Sunday evenings, Saturday evenings, whatever, just to give that basic information that we don't seem to get. But you really need that basic information to try to make it. And I'm not going there giving anything away. Some people say, your bank won't give me any money. And I say, well, we're not a nonprofit, we're not a grant organization, but we expect to be repaid. And when I tell some people that we expect to be repaid, it's news to them.
Wow. Cassandra, why is it important to give back?
Well, I'm going to go back to my family because I was raised in an environment in which people gave back. I would see my father, who was a physician, he was a very active physician, had one of the largest practices of any African American in the region. And he would zoom in for dinner, make sure that he was there with us, and then he'd go back out, visit his patients, and then go and serve on a whole host of both community organizations as well as civic organizations. And my mother would do the same thing. She retired literally after she started having children, but she never retired from doing community work. She was involved in everything, and so I grew up in that kind of environment, and that's probably why both I and my two brothers are very, very active in giving back to the community. It's something that we feel we're supposed to do, and sharing your knowledge and expertise is really what it's all about.
Delceno?
Well, I echo what Yvonne and Cassandra said. But also, it's there's so much need in the community, and like I say, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. And I just try to do my part, either through my church or through other nonprofits, because there's just so much need. And we had support. And I've had through family, through church, and all of those things. And so I feel that that's the debt I don't mind repaying over and over again, because God has blessed me to be in this position. That's my way of even inspiring someone else, the future makers, male and female, to do their part, to make their mark on society. And sometimes they just need that extra help. And there's some wonderful organizations out there that are doing that, and they need volunteers like us to assist them. So I don't mind doing that at all.
Barbara?
Just simply there, but for the grace of God go I.
That's right.
Let's see. We've got calls waiting. Edie joins us from Newport News. Hi, Edie. You're in the air.
Thank you. I'm going to address my comment to Barbara Ciara. I watch you every night. I love your newscast.
Thank you.
But I couldn't believe it. My mouth dropped when you said people, women especially, send you emails, derogatory emails. I got to tell you, and I should have said something then, but I thought, it's not important. But when you got your hair cut a year or so back, that was the cutest cut I've ever seen in my life. I sat there and I said to my son, look how great she looks. But I said, I was going to send an email, and I said, nah, they don't need stuff like that from everybody.
Hey, better late than never.
That, I feel bad that I didn't send that email because you looked great with that haircut. I love it.
Thank you so much.
So
I appreciate that.
I just want to know there are some of us out here that really like you and think you're wonderful.
You just made my day. I appreciate that.
I want to ask each of you, because you and we've got about 1:30 left. Is that correct? Wow, this hour has just gone by so quickly. Okay, very last question then. You brought up the point about future makers. Okay, so can each of you just give a future maker a piece of advice, just something that they can take with them? Let's start with you, Barbara.
I just say listen to your inner voice. Whatever it is that you believe you can do, you can make it happen. Self-doubt is the career killer.
Okay, Delceno?
Find someone that can mentor you, that's been down that path, that can tell you where the potholes are. You see that now? Otherwise, you're out of a job. But to find someone that you trust, that you can open your heart to, and that will guide you and spend that kind of quality time with you.
Okay. Cassandra?
Start with believing in yourself. Dig down deep. Make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's, and don't let anybody hold you back.
Okay, and Yvonne, last word.
Don't lose who you are, and don't try to be someone else. Be who you are. Find out about your history. Know where you came from, so that you can be successful.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Hello, this is Spike Lee. What's happening? And you listen to Another View, 89.5 FM on WHRV.
And welcome back. She fell in love with one of the most noted authors of our generation and helped him write one of the most detailed accounts of an African's journey from freedom to slavery to freedom again. Author Mai Haley was a major contributor to her husband Alex's novel Roots. And now Mai is stepping out on her own with a premiere novel that begins right here in Hampton Roads. Our Lisa Godley spoke with Mai Haley about her book, The Treason of Mary Louvester.
If you've never heard of Mary Louvester, you're about to. This heroine from Norfolk, Virginia, played a significant role in the Civil War by smuggling vital information about the Merrimack north to the Secretary of the Navy, giving him a heads up to get the Monitor ready for battle.
Because of what Mary was able to bring to him, that they realized that they really had to speed up things in order to be able to get the ironclad finished and into Hampton Roads for the big dogfight between those two ironclads. And that's what impacted the war.
I asked Mai how she discovered Mary's story. She gives credit to her husband Alex's master researcher, a man by the name of George Sims, who was responsible for a lot of the research done on Roots.
What happened was, after Roots was done, I was telling Alex I really wanted to write my own book about a woman of substance that I could emotionally identify with. George Sims was the kind of person who was like a mole in the Library of Congress. And so if you gave him an assignment, he was like a terrier with a bone. He wasn't going to let it go. That he came back with this information about her. Then I was able to just make a quick trip to Norfolk to verify that she actually did exist.
But the timing still wasn't right for Mai Haley to tell Mary's story. She continued to work on projects with Alex, and then a few years ago, she knew it was time. Since The Treason of Mary Louvester was published, Mai has traveled around the country reading excerpts from her book. I asked her to share a small segment about Mary's fearless determination to steal the plans for the Merrimack and take them north.
She soon found the sheaf of ship's plans where she had left off before. One square of tracing paper, sketch, fold, tuck it in her bosom. Another piece of paper, sketch, fold, tuck. Only one more large sheet of renderings to go. Needlessly, she fingered the stack of supply papers in the pouch she carried on her hip. It was a nervous gesture since she made sure she had plenty of pieces of the tracing paper before she left out. Wait, what was that? She cocked her ear. She heard a key turn in the office door lock. Mary launched herself to the back of the room. There was no time to get back to the window. If whoever was coming had a lamp, it would be impossible to not see her, even in as large a room as this. Her eyes swung around desperately, seeking a place to hide. As the door began to open, she spotted a small space between two bookcases. Panic raced through her. She saw she'd left the plans open on the desk, and a small square of tracing paper lay on top. In addition, she had left the window open to make a fast exit if she had to. Her mind raced. She knew this little oversight could derail everything.
While The Treason of Mary Lou Vester is Mai's first work on her own, she certainly doesn't plan on it being her last.
I hope that a momentum is built up to the point that I'm able to complete the three major pieces that Alex left for me. The one is called The Merging, which is the white side of Ruth, which is huge. The other is the story of the first woman millionaire in this country, who happened to be a black woman, Madam C.J. Walker,
right,
and his autobiography. The other is I have 5 more of the Mary series to complete.
I asked Mai to leave aspiring authors with some advice.
Well, not to wait on the muses to come and sit on your shoulder. That's just not going to happen. The only mystery and magic to writing is applying your rear end to the seat and writing.
For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
And the next time we have Dr. Cassandra Newby-Alexander on the show doing one of our history shows, we'll have to talk about the Mary Lou Vester and the real backstory behind what she has done. Time now for things to view and do in Hampton Roads.
You will be my Saturday love.
Norfolk State University invites you to attend the HBCU Choral Festival, featuring the concert choirs of Elizabeth City State University, Hampton University, Morgan State University, and Norfolk State University on Sunday, February 17th at 5 p.m. at the L. Douglas Wilder Center on the campus of NSU. For ticket information, call 823-8565. The City of Norfolk is working on its fiscal budget for 2014, and city leaders want to hear from you. Come join the budget conversation on Thursday, February 21st from 6:30 till 8 at the Mary D. Pretlow Anchor Branch Library, Ocean View Avenue in Norfolk. For more information, visit norfolk.gov and click on Budget. The Virginia Beach branch of the NAACP invites you to its annual Jubilee Emancipation Proclamation Day celebration on Sunday, February 24th, 6:30 at Morning Star Baptist Church, First Court Road in Virginia Beach. The keynote speaker is Reverend James Allen. In addition to the reading of the Emancipation Proclamation, the NAACP will install new officers. The event is free and open to the public. Call 490-7799. And I hope you'll join me and the rest of the WHRV family this coming Sunday for the 4th annual Strolling Supper Party. This super fun event features many of the top restaurants in the area. The food is fabulous. There's live entertainment, a silent auction, and it's really a good time. All proceeds benefit WHRV. You can get all the details at whrv.org/strolling supper. Come on out. I'd sure love to see you. And you can find these and other events on our website, anotherviewradio.org. You can also listen to podcasts of this or any other Another View program. Just go to whrv.org, click on Listen, then on Podcasts. Today's show is an especially good one to share with young women in your life who could benefit from the 4 role models we had on the show today. Next week, Another View on Health with Dr. Keith Newby. That Newby family is just on this show. For producer Lisa Godley, audio engineer Perry Smith, Kendall Hairston, who answered the phones, I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Have a fabulous weekend, and let's get together again next Friday at noon for Another View.